Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Distinguished viewers and listeners, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. What is medicine of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam? Medicine of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, or prophetic medicine or prophet's medicine, is defined as the medicine and medical practices evolved during the time of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. It refers to words and actions of the Prophet ﷺ on disease, treatment of disease and their cure. It also includes words of the Prophet ﷺ on medical matters, medical treatment practiced by others on the Prophet ﷺ, and medical treatments practiced by the Prophet ﷺ on himself and others. It also includes medical treatments observed or heard by the Prophet ﷺ where he did not object or prohibit. My dear respected brothers and sisters, in Surah Al-Qamar, verse 49, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, "We have created everything with a destiny." That is Qadr. Qadr means divine preordainments of all things, including diseases, pandemic and their remedies. At the time of creating human beings, it was part of Allah's divine plan that man would fall sick for one reason or the other. In Surah Rum, verse 36, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala also says that affliction befalls on people on account of what their hands have earned, which means misdeeds, wrongdoers and sins committed by wicked people and sinners. In Surah Al-Baqarah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala cautions us that diseases, loss of properties and lives, hunger, fear are sometimes sent to us as a test of our faith. However, whatever be the reasons of our sickness, possessing good health in this world is the prerequisite to worship Allah and carry out His commands correctly. If we are not well, we cannot worship Allah properly. And even if we cannot do any good work, which might take several years to complete for the benefit and welfare of people. Moreover, Allah sent Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam as a mercy to mankind, that is Rahmatul lil Alamin. So as a sign of His mercy, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala inspired Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam to make nearly 1,000 statements on healing for the benefit of man during his transient stay on the face of the earth. Because man needs to remain well, free from sickness and diseases to fulfill his brief mission on earth. In modern times, when people become sick, they become fully dependent on doctors and medicine. They don't rely on anything else other than medicine. But this view is not Islamic. Medicine is essentially a means of recovery from illness. Use of medicine for the treatment of an ailment is a prophetic advice. The Prophet ﷺ has advised the Muslim Ummah to visit the skilled physician for treatment and subsequent cure. In Surah Shura, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, Bismillahirrahmanirrahim, وَإِذَا مَرِضْتُ فَهُوَ يَشْفِينِ. That is, Allah is the healer and medicine and physicians are the means of healing. Even Socrates acknowledged the same view. From Abu ad-Darda radiyallahu anhu and whose sayings, we understand that Allah is the physician, and without His permission, will and knowledge, one cannot fall sick. In fact, there is a general agreement that use of medicine while one is sick is lawful. The teachings of the Prophet ﷺ also indicate that using medicine is lawful. He even advised his companions to go to the competent doctor in case of sickness. The Islamic concept of healing is that a physician examines a patient, diagnoses an ailment, and prescribes medicine or medicines. A pharmacist prepares the medicines, manufactures the medicine, and dispenses them to the patient. ultimately it is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala who heals the ailment through the medicine. Thus it appears that pharmacy and medicine, disease and treatment, patient and physician are all interrelated in the process of healing, which is done by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, in whom full trust should be placed. Imam Hafiz Allama Suyuti Rahmatullah alayhi wrote many books on a wide variety of subjects, of which Tibbun and Nababi was one of the most popular. This book is still in circulation. This Tibbun Nababi was almost exclusively based upon the knowledge of medical practices during the days of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Dear ladies and gentlemen, the purpose of delivering this video lecture is to discuss how metabolic diseases like diabetes affecting millions of people in the world can be prevented following the prophetic lifestyle and using prophetic remedy. We all know that management of a disease means preventing the disease from occurrence and also treating and curing the disease in case someone falls sick. So in this lecture, I shall narrate the steps to be taken so that we can prevent a disease, particularly diabetes, and then I shall discuss inshallah how to cure diabetes using prophetic medicine. The Prophet ﷺ too emphasized prevention of a disease rather than just curing the ailment. According to modern medical science, diabetes is seen as a controllable disease, not curable. But according to Prophet Muhammad ﷺ, diabetes is curable because for every disease Allah has created, He has also created a suitable remedy. The first prophetic statement indicates that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has already created remedies for every disease. So since diabetes is a disease, although disastrous and fatal, it is curable. From the second hadith, we come to know that Allah already created a remedy for diabetes. It is now up to the scientists and researchers to discover the appropriate remedy. Diabetes is known as a lifestyle disease. So in order to prevent this disease, we need to make some modifications to our lifestyle activities and follow the prophetic lifestyle regarding eating and drinking and other daily practices. Following prophetic lifestyle, if inhabitants of a community, that is Medina, can remain well free from sickness, disease and pollution for nearly 2 years when there was no access to modern medicine and medical facilities, then why not it is possible in this time of scientific advancement? Therefore, it is very reasonable to say that the world community, including the non-Muslim, should follow Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam as the best guide in all matters including sickness and affliction. Let me bring to you an authentic ancient story. During the early days of Islam, 14 centuries ago, the Persian emperor sent one physician to Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam to treat his companions in case of illness. The physician stayed in Medina for 1 to 2 years. But during this time, no companion of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam went to him for treatment. One day, the physician went to the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam and said, I have been sent to you to treat your companions in case of sickness. But during this long time, none approached me for any medical advice or complained of any sickness. So there is no need for me to stay here. Hearing this, the Prophet ﷺ said, it is the custom of the people of this land not to eat until they are hungry. And when they eat, they leave a portion of the stomach empty. The physician then remarked, that is the perfect reason for their excellent health. The physician saluted the Prophet ﷺ, kissed the ground and left Medina. Modern medical science does not specify the amount of food one should eat regularly for maintaining good health. But the Prophet ﷺ made specific statements on the amount of food to be taken in a single meal for maintaining good health. You look at the hadith. If I explain this prophetic statement in the light of modern knowledge, you will find that it exactly fits to the modern concept. Let me give you an example of a liquidizer or blender which we use to mix, chop or grind food items in our kitchen. If we fill the blender completely with garlic, ginger, onion, turmeric and other items and do not add water, will it work? Certainly it will not work. Our stomach is also like a blender. It contains solid food, liquid food, semi-solid food. It also contains vitamins, minerals, carbohydrates, proteins, fibers, fat, etc. So in order to digest the food item properly, we must keep some space in the stomach empty for the physiological process to take place properly. If we fill our stomach with food, we shall not be comfortable to walk, move, work, sleep or even rest. Moreover, we might invite obesity. So the Prophet's advice on the amount of food items to be consumed in a single meal is very, very scientific. Respected brothers and sisters, there are two hadiths here. So if we implement the first hadith narrated by Abu Hurairah radiallahu ta'ala anhu, let's say the food of 100 million people of a country will be enough for 150 million people. On the other hand, if we implement the hadith narrated by Jabir radiallahu ta'ala anhu, the food of 75 million people of a nation will be adequate for 150 million people. So if we can change our eating habits according to the Prophet's prophetic advice, we shall have no food shortage in the country. Moreover, we shall not need to import food from abroad, spending huge amount of foreign exchange. In fact, health does not depend on the quantity of food one eats. It depends on the quality of the food. Whether the food is nutritious, wholesome, fresh, whether it contains minerals, vitamins, proteins, fat and carbohydrates. This is the simple scientific explanation. The Prophet ﷺ advised the Muslim nation not to eat until hungry. This statement forms the basis of remaining well all the time. Today, modern science is also echoing the same thing. Recently, I have come across a research article published in the inaugural issue of the Journal of the Association for Consumer Research entitled The Behavioral Science of Eating. The authors Cohert and Bryan in 2016 report that the individuals participating in the study were 45 undergraduate students. The participants were asked first to rate their level of hunger and then to consume a meal rich in carbohydrate. To measure how the meal was impacting participants' health, participants' blood glucose levels were measured at regular intervals after they consumed the meal. Blood glucose levels tend to rise after a meal containing carbohydrates. It is generally healthier if blood glucose level rise by a relatively small amount, because the elevated blood glucose is damaging to the body's cells. It was found that blood sugar of those who were hungry before eating the meal was much lower than the other group. This finding was supportive of the existence of good health of the Prophet's companion during the early days of Islam. The diseases were in place at that time, but there was no sickness. It also indicates that people suffering from diabetes should only eat when hungry and not to fill their stomach when eating. Ladies and gentlemen, diabetes is a metabolic disorder. Common symptoms include blurred vision, frequent urination, fatigue, weight loss and thirst. The disease occurs due to reduced production of pancreatic hormone insulin or due to reduced sensitivity of muscle, liver and fat cells to the hormone. The disease affects people of all genders, ages and races. It is affecting people since the antiquity. It was known by different names in different era and managed accordingly to a greater extent. But today it has reached to an epidemic proportion due to substantial lifestyle modifications. Patients having diabetes have a lot of restrictions about seeking remedies from other diseases. In the next few slides, I shall give you an outline about the scenario of the disease diabetes mellitus in the world today, including Bangladesh. The current global scenario of diabetes is that it is increasing with a frightening rate. Currently, diabetes is one of the fast growing diseases which covers nearly 2.8% of the world population, and it is predicted to increase up to 5.4% by the year 2030. Diabetes affects more Americans than cancer and HIV. In the US, there are approximately 30 million sufferers. In the Middle East, 7 out of 10 deaths are attributed to side effects of diabetes. Diabetes is a global epidemic, and studies show that by the year 2030, the figures will be double. The number of diabetic patients in Bangladesh is also huge. It is observed that every day in the morning, hundreds of patients are seen moving about with their personal treatment files in B.Pharm Hospital, Shahbag, Dhaka. The B.Pharm Hospital in the morning seems to be a marketplace. One cannot be sure whether all the patients who visit the hospital receive any medical care from the physicians. Most of the hospitals in Dhaka also find it extremely difficult to handle this large number of diabetic patients each day. In India, Pakistan and Bangladesh, diabetes is proving to be a major health problem, especially in the urban areas. Though there are various approaches to reduce the ill effects of diabetes and its secondary complications, herbal therapy is preferred over modern medicine due to absence of side effects and low cost. According to American Diabetes Association, in 2008, in the USA, in the year 2007, the economic expenditure for diabetes was $174 billion. Medical costs attributed to diabetes include $27 billion for care to directly treat diabetes. People diagnosed with diabetes spend an average of 2.3 times more money on health care than people without diabetes. So more and more are looking for natural alternatives to live longer and be healthier. Currently, it is known that there is no standard treatment to achieve required correction of blood glucose in many patients. According to modern medical science, diabetes is seen as a controllable disease, not curable. But there is a tremendous need for investigating. Therefore, there is a tremendous need for investigating potential hypoglycemic drugs. Therefore, there is a tremendous need for investigating potential hypoglycemic drugs or herbs to improve glycemic control in diabetic patients. Thank you very much, dear viewers and listeners, for your kind attention and time. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala continue to bless you, protect you, and keep you excellent health and wellness free from diabetes. In the next lecture, I shall make a humble attempt to discuss the results of scientific studies done with black seed for the treatment of diabetes using isolated animal tissues and intact laboratory animals. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi ta'ala wa barakatuh. Allah